Recently, you may have heard of our wind announcement, a significant project for the three communities of Gespe'gewa'gi, Gespeg and Listuguj. We've been working on this wind initiative for a number of years now, and again, this is a very significant project for our three communities. It brings in somewhere about $150 million of revenue, profits, to our three communities over the next 20 years, so starting in 2015 and going up to 2035. The intent of going out there and getting to this wind initiative or this wind farm was to bring more monies into our communities for programs and services. So it's very significant. We're very happy to be able to hear this announcement and to move forward on our wind farm, our development of this wind farm for our three communities. So that being said, what are we going to do with these revenues? How do we ensure that this project is successful? How do we ensure that the three communities are involved in this project and that everyone benefits from this? That's what we're going to talk about here today. One big component of this is governance. How are we going to govern over this project? How are we going to ensure that it's transparent? How are we going to ensure that the revenues coming from this project are coming to the three communities and there's a proper sharing formula? Also, how do we ensure that we meet the priorities that the communities are talking about? We've heard for a number of years that culture and heritage is important. Well, how important is it? And when we talk about culture and heritage, which components? Are we talking about the language component or some other things? So governance, what does that mean? The Mi'gmaq have been striving since the late 70s, along with other First Nations across Canada and the United States, talking about self-determination. So when we talk about self-determination, talking about self-government, we want to be in the position to make our own decisions. For many years we've been under the Indian Act and decisions have been made for our communities. We've had a lot of problems, and you could see with the statistics out there in Canada and in our communities. We know what's happening in our communities. There's a lot of issues that we're dealing with. So who better to solve some of these problems? It's ourselves. We know the issues deeply. We know the solutions. But we need to get to the place when how do we make our own decisions? Well, a lot of things, a lot of initiatives that the Mi'gmaq want to undertake require money. So when we talk about this wind farm, the revenue coming from this wind farm, it puts us in a position where we could start making these decisions. One of the decisions that we have to do is how are we going to govern ourselves? So that's what we talk about when we mean governance. It's making our own decisions, talking about the future, putting policies, programs and laws in place, things that are meaningful to us. Not a law that belongs to Canada that they're trying to enforce on us. It's laws that we make from our own people. That's what we're talking about when we talk about governance. So the same thing, as we put our wind farm project forward, how are we going to govern that project? How are we going to make our own decisions about that? What decisions are important? And when we make these decisions, we're talking about a large project. We want to ensure that all three communities, agree on these things as we go forward. And of course, one vital component is transparency. Our community members need to see this revenue coming in, need to see that the communities are involved in the process about what are we going to do with this money, how are we sharing it, are we going to put money into trusts, those kind of things, education. Well, how do we make that decision to say how much money is going to education? All these things that we're talking about there is governance. That is governance. And that's the point that we get at when we talk about self-government. We're making decisions. Mi'gmaq are making decisions for Mi'gmaq people. We have Mi'gmaq monies coming off the Mi'gmaq project, and we're talking about shaping and changing the future. So when we're talking about this wind farm, we want to make it clear again, that we're talking about a corporate structure, and that this corporate structure put forward, it is owned by the three communities together. So Gespe'gewa'gi, Gespeg and Listuguj, they own this wind farm initiative. They are part of this corporation. They are the owners of this corporation, and the benefits are meant to belong to the three communities. So we're very excited about this project, a wind farm for our three communities. This is significant. It's a very significant initiative for the three communities to work together, to show ourselves that we can work together, and when we do that, we can accomplish great things. So as we go forward, we're talking about a project that's going to start bringing revenues into our communities in the beginning of the year 2016. And we're talking about 150 to 175 million. So what does that mean to you? That's what we want to hear. When these monies start coming into our three communities, where do you want these monies to be invested? It's going to be invested in the future in terms of education, social programs, health programs. What is that future? What is the future that we're going to build together? So we're going to be going out, reaching out to the community members to hear from you about that, but also take the time for yourselves and come see us. Come see us at our office, come see us on our website, send us a note, send us an email, whichever way you feel comfortable. We want to hear from you. We want to hear from as many community members as possible, talking about the future, thinking about the future. We know education's important. Okay, that's obvious. But what other things are important? How important is education to you? Also, you can go see your chief and council members and tell them, hey, we heard there's a wind farm coming, we heard there's revenues, what are we doing about it? Tell them what's important to you. So 150 to 175 million, that's the first time that we could talk about monies like that. All this time we had other smaller initiatives, you know, some small forestry projects, other kind of projects in our community members bringing in some money. Well, this is going to change the world for our communities. This is about your future. Come see us. Our website, I want to say www.mi'gmaq.ca. There will be a link there allowing you to send for information to us. Come see us. So we're happy to announce this project, and we're happy to work on your behalf, putting this project together. Gespe'gewa'gi Mi'gmaq of Gesgapegiag. It belongs to you. Well,